that constant state of low energy, fatigue, brain fog. I was having a lot of trouble just putting on my socks, from a sitting position on the bed. I wake up ready to conquer the world every morning off of 6 hours of sleep. My reward is the energy levels, the consistent energy levels I have throughout the day. I'm not going through blood sugar spikes and dips. I'm able to move and work out pain-free, even after HIIT classes or weightlifting and stuff like that.
Well, a warm welcome to you all. I'm JJ. I'm a life coach and I eat mostly meat.
I'm Eric. I'm a novelist and I eat pretty much only meat and eggs.
And we are so excited to be joined by another meat eater today. Let's give a warm welcome to Charlie at Darth Carnivore. Love that name.
Yeah. Sounds kind of sinister, Charlie.
Oh, I know. I mean, we eat red meat. We put salt on things. We've definitely gone to the dark side.
Yeah, you're sitting in your Death Star control room right now.
Exactly.
Getting ready to fire up the air fryer of death. So we met Charlie recently at a meetup.
We did a live in-person event, and we really enjoyed talking to you afterwards, Charlie.
Yeah, same here. So that was a great meetup. Nice to meet fellow carnivores. Where you don't have to explain how you eat and stuff. So,
well, you recognized us, which was kind of fun. But you showed us a before picture, and I'm gonna bring those up right now.
Sure.
Because I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I look at it, I still can't believe it too. I feel like, I don't know, like this was like that person was a stunt double or something that put on extra weight or something. But when I was at this time, this was like 3 years ago, give or take. Okay. And I weighed at least 410 pounds at that point. So I didn't really want to be in pictures when I was that heavy, but my family and I, we had this tradition. So the one on the left, before my daughter starts school, we take a picture together as a family, just to show her through the ages and stuff. So it's kind of interesting to look at those pictures as you compare those, because I get smaller and smaller. My dog gets bigger and bigger. My little girl gets taller. My wife has lost some weight too, so she's gotten smaller. So it's been kind of an interesting, annual picture on the first day of school. And then the one on the right, I think it's like later on in the same year. This was well before I even, restarted keto, and then, eventually went to carnivore. But I was helping my wife with my daughter's like kindergarten or first grade birthday party at a bakery. So I was helping out. So I didn't even know this picture was being taken, but, I was in a 5X t-shirt then, 5X shorts, just to move. I was already sweating and stuff. What's not seen in the picture there is, in my pocket, I had some paper towels just because moving around, I was sweaty, so it was hard to move around and carry all that weight. So.
And how tall are you when you were, well, now, but 4'10" on what type of a frame?
5'7".
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So very, very wide.
So. Wow. And what has been your weight loss right now?
My weight loss right now is currently sitting at 187 pounds. So the past 6 months I've been kind of in a maintenance mode at 180, and then I started experimenting with different things, which I can go into later on. But I was like, okay, maybe it's time to start losing weight again. And so I, in the spirit of doing something different to get different results, I've messed with one or two levers to do just that. So I'll probably hit the 190 mark by the end of the month at the rate I'm going. So, but yeah, I'm trying to focus on some body recomposition.
Yeah, you look like a completely different person.
And you look younger.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. I've seen it with your guys's, stories. I think the last few months I've watched some of your, weight loss that you've undergone, but also a lot of other carnivores in the space where they may not even mention it, but just by seeing it, it's like, oh, wow, they've kind of aged in reverse. And that just seems to be something in common, something that's exciting as we're all kind of exploring and sharing our carnivore journeys.
So, what does carnivore mean to you right now? I know for me, it can be a little bit of an evolving definition, but right now, for Charlie, what is carnivore?
Carnivore is basically just meat and eggs. So that's basically all I eat. So when people ask me, it's like, well, what do you eat on the carnivore diet? Meat and eggs only.
Mm-hmm.
And I just simplified it that, and then they just kind of look at me like I have 3 heads or something.
So is it mostly beef, or is it just any meat is fair game?
Mostly beef. It just kind of depends on what's on sale at the store. So if ribeye or New York strip's on sale, then it's ribeye and New York strip that week. If it's ground pork or sausage, then it's ground pork or sausage that week. So I kind of play it by ear. But I also, in addition to carnivore, just eat 1 meal a day for like the most part, unless I'm doing like an extended fast. So it's 6 or 7 meals that I've got to plan for. So that's pretty easy. And I don't mind eating the same meal over and over again.
What time are you eating your 1 meal a day right now?
Generally, I like to eat it, in the early afternoon hour. So like 12 to 4.
Okay.
If I have to go into the office, it'll be a little bit later. But if I'm working from home or it's the weekend or something, then it'll be earlier in the afternoon. And generally, it takes me, I don't know, half an hour to eat. It might take me about half an hour to make my food, but it'll take me about half an hour to eat. So food only comprises 1 hour of my day.
Okay. All right. And now you mentioned before we started recording that you are an accountant, which is fairly sedentary.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. So have you done a lot of exercise, physical activity? What does that look like for you right now?
Yeah, so I work out probably 3 to 4 times a week. I'll go to the gym, do some HIIT classes, high intensity interval training. I'll do some choreographed strength training courses. I don't know. I do a lot better in a classroom setting just because I feel I get the most out of that hour or 45 minutes that I'm there. Whether it's cycling or whatever, it makes good use of the time. And then um, if I can find people, I'll play racquetball. That's my favorite form of cardio. So
I have to ask, are you exercising fasted or is this after you eat? Because I know there are a lot of people who are maybe new to carnivore or carnivore curious who are like, you eat 1 meal a day and you're going and doing HIIT workouts. What?
yeah, for the most part, it is fasted. It depends. Scheduling, of course, is a concern because if my class is in the evening, then I'm going to try to hit earlier in that afternoon to eat. So if my class is in the evening, then it's not fasted. But if the class is early in the morning, then it is fasted. So it works well either way, and it's I think I do better fasted than I do not fasted, but it just kind of depends on when the exercise class is.
Now we've talked about your weight loss, but I'm curious about how has your quality of life changed?
It's changed dramatically. So, like I said in those before pictures, I struggled just to move and just to stand. It was a struggle just to be awake and stuff. I mean, that was kind of a workout in and of itself. And then, I would have those blood sugar spikes and crashes throughout the day, eating all, the garbage food that you do to get to that point. Um, and so when I was that weight, not only was it harder to move around, but I just had really low energy levels. So I would not consciously, but, I guess subconsciously think, what's the least amount of energy I can get to do? What's the least amount of energy I can expend to get through the day and get what I need to get done, And, it's really hard to be a good dad or a husband or just a good human being if you're in that constant state of low energy, fatigue, brain fog, just kind of lurching meal to meal till your next, meal from Burger King or Culver's or whatever, So, I had done keto once before, like 10 years earlier, and lost a bunch of weight, kept it off for 2 years, but then, one cheat meal turns into two, turns into a weekend, and you go along that slippery slope. And so I gained all that weight back and then some. So when in those before pictures was I had regained all that, previous weight and then some. And so I knew why I was big because, with the keto diet, you understand, the role of insulin and, all that stuff. But, I felt like kind of a failure because I knew the right advice, but I just wasn't able to follow it consistently enough to do it. And, it wasn't, my weight loss journey, my second weight loss journey, and hopefully it's my last, is, it wasn't my type 2 diabetes that, really spurred me, but it was just kind of a random morning where I, rolled out of bed, I kept shutting off the alarm clock. And then I was having a lot of trouble just putting on my socks, from a sitting position on the bed. I had to use like a sock assist device to, get my socks on. And then I had to use a chair for support to just put on my shoes. And I just kind of rolled back into bed thinking, if, as my girl gets older and stuff, it's going to be really hard to be a good, father for her mentally and physically. If I'm having so much trouble just putting on my shoes, basic daily living activity. And so at that point I said, I had done this keto thing before, but, when I was doing it, I would always introduce a cheat meal at the end as my reward for being good for the other 6 days, and then, start that process all over again of adapting. And the weird thing is I did that for 2 years and lost 150 pounds, then kept it off for 2 years. But, at some point that one meal becomes two, and it's really easy to justify along that slippery slope. And so I thought, okay, I got some parts right, but what if I just got rid of the cheat meal? Then I don't have to spend the day fasting the next day, working out like a beast the rest of the week, eating really clean, keto just to get back into a state of ketosis and, losing weight again. So I just thought, well, what if I could just get rid of that cheat meal somehow, and let's start from there. So that's what I did. My doctor also thought it'd be a good idea to prescribe like a weight loss injection drug. So I took that for my first 3 months, and this was like a little over 2.5 years ago. And after 3 months, I said, I've not had a cheat meal in 90 days. I think I've got this under control. I don't think I need a refill on that injection, because that was just kind of insurance peace of mind, because that I feel that was definitely the Achilles heel of my previous keto approach. And the lesson learned there was, why don't I just not have a cheat meal? Now, the keto I was doing then was just kind of a better version of the standard American junk foods I was eating. So instead of a normal burger with the bun and stuff, I would just get substitute it with the keto bread, because at 410 plus pounds, that kind of dirty keto approach is significantly better than what I was doing. And it was enough to make me lose, probably at least 100 pounds that way, just with that simple substitution. So I didn't really feel deprived because I was eating all the normal stuff, just the keto substitute version of it. And then at some point, I remember this night because I was drinking like Diet Mountain Dew before I went to bed. And then I spent the rest of that night in the bathroom, not because I was, had to go or anything, but it was a suspected kidney stone incident that was really painful. So, yeah, I never experienced anything like that before, so I didn't know how to like describe it. I mean, it just feels like I'm just one good bathroom trip away from this good feeling going away, but that wasn't it at all. So I went to the doctors. They said, well, we think it's a kidney stone, and I had to do the whole thing because they wanted to make sure it wasn't like cancer or anything else. I had to do that. It wasn't cancer. Never found the stone, but that night I said, I think I'm just going to quit all diet soda. And just because at that time I could associate like that drink with the pain I was feeling very recently. And that was kind of eye-opening because I didn't think I could quit diet soda. And I did because it just kind of, I associate that pain I felt that night with just diet drinks. So it's enough of a deterrence. And so I was doing keto and then, kind of listening in on a lot of the carnivore channels. And what I was kind of focused in on was the digestion piece because, going from keto to carnivore and like, okay, what about fiber? Don't you need it to go to the bathroom and all that stuff? And then, aren't vegetables always good for you otherwise? And so, I ran across Dr. Anthony Chaffee's, Plants Are Trying to Kill You lecture that he did, and it really impressed upon me that maybe plants aren't always beneficial. Maybe plants don't want to be your salad. So it's not a great evolutionary survival strategy to be some species idea of a healthy meal. So and so and then he also did a good job of explaining how digesting meat works and how it contributes to like low residue, low bathroom and stuff. So I figured I had enough information. So June of 2022, I switched from keto to carnivore. So cut out all the artificial sweeteners, all the plants, eventually cutting out the cheese and dairy too. And it's I don't know, it's been a nice transition because my mind doesn't really think about like the keto snacks and treats and stuff like that I was consuming, the keto ice creams and stuff, because it was kind of hard at first because it's like that first month my body is like, you're supposed to get a pint of this keto ice cream, you're supposed to get a square of this keto brownie or this low carb cheesecake, so but after that first month of just kind of white knuckling it, I don't know, like it's almost like the food noise is kind of quieted, and that was pretty transformational. It was around then that I started hearing ideas about, well, some of these foods could be like addictive, and I definitely have addictive tendencies around certain foods like nuts, like macadamia nuts.
Oh yeah.
I may intend to eat, I know. I may intend to eat a serving because that doesn't look too bad, nutrition wise, but pretty soon the can is gone.
It's empty quick. Yeah. So how did your family and friends react to this change?
They were supportive of it throughout. They were asking, what are you doing? And so I would tell them and stuff, and they said, well, keep doing what you're doing. They can see, not just the weight loss, but the transformation, before their eyes, because, I didn't just become like a smaller version of my bigger self, but, I did this while gaining, 10 pounds of lean muscle mass throughout, according to the InBody scales, that I took over time. So, and it's just been transformational. Like, I no longer have issues tying my shoes now. I can do it from put my socks on from a standing position, pretty well balanced, and all that stuff. I can get on the floor and play with my daughter and not fear whether I'm going to get up or not. I can go every year while I was losing weight. I was a chaperone on my daughter's trip. And so, the first year I was doing it, I was, only a couple months keto going into it. But I was like, man, the buses seem so small compared to what I remember when I was a kid. But as I continued to lose weight and like just get better energy, the buses started getting bigger from my perspective. So, I mean, the bus didn't change, obviously, the seating wise, but just for comparison, when I would sit with my daughter on the bus, I would take up 80% of the space, and then she would have to fit in the 20% with her backpack. And now I occupy like 40% of the space. She occupies her own thing, even though she's bigger, and then she can sit her backpack alongside her. So, I mean, that feels good, just knowing that even though I'm one of the older parents, I'm probably one of the more, healthier parents that are on that field trip as well. I used to have to buy a seatbelt extender when I had to fly airlines because I didn't want to publicly ask the stewardess or the person there, hey, do you have an extra seatbelt extender? And then hold everybody up in line that was waiting to get seated. So I no longer have to use that. When I buckle up on the seatbelt, the excess seatbelt goes past my elbow, which is, I don't know, just kind of mind blowing to me. When I go out to eat at restaurants, I no longer have to just, be seated at a table with like a sturdy chair. Hopefully, I can go into a booth or a table or, anywhere and not worry about that kind of stuff. Like the weight is just a number, but when you're that heavy, there's a lot of what I call non-scale fails along the way that you kind of reverse when you not only lose weight, but I wake up ready to conquer the world every morning off of 6 hours of sleep. I wake up, I do 100 push-ups, before I wash my face and brush my teeth and all that stuff. I'm getting a lot of house chores done before I even get ready for work, just to be productive and stuff. I feel like going to the gym. It used to, like before when I was doing keto like a decade ago, workout was a way to compensate for the terrible food choices you made the night before,
Yep.
And then you sprinkle a little, guilt and frustration on top of that to work out even harder. But now I work out because I feel like it. It's not a punishment for eating meat. I mean, it kind of goes in the same healthy direction as that. So it's really nice that when I choose to exercise, in order to gain more functional fitness, it's going in the same direction as my food is. It's not opposite of it.
So, do you experience any challenges around food right now? Any temptations, anything like that?
For the most part, not. And in my household, it's kind of a mixed dietary approach. My kid eats standard kid stuff, so when I prepare her lunch, I do make a little bag of Cheetos and stuff like that, and that used to be a trigger food for me. And other snacks that she has in there, or my wife will eat have some French fries or something. That used to be like a big trigger for me, but the longer I've gone without having any of that stuff, like I said, those food noises kind of quiet. But I've also tried to look at it not in terms of the things I am lacking. I'm not eating chips, I'm not eating French fries, I'm not eating cake or anything. But I look at what I'm gaining. What I mean by that is what I eat has something to do with how I feel, with how I look, that I've never internalized before. I mean, it was always kind of an abstract thought, like a theory at least, but I've never appreciated that until, when I failed keto the first time or failed at doing keto the first time, just how, much food can do in reverse. Bad food is an investment in the wrong direction, So I think, I don't know, I think a couple of thoughts. One is, the Cheetos and the cakes and all the holiday treats and stuff. I've crossed that off my bucket list well before, I got to 410 plus pounds. So, whatever Taco Bell comes up with for their newest thing, it doesn't need to be on my bucket list. I've had enough food bucket list items already. So I think, that's one thought, but I also think, the things where we eat bad food at occasions, it's almost like that's the price of admission to enjoy other people's company, but it's really not. The point of getting together over a meal is really to enjoy the company of other people. And I know that if I were to partake of some of those really tasty but not good for me foods, I would go through those blood sugar spikes and dips where, I'm fighting brain fog, I'm fighting fatigue. I'm really struggling to be there in the present to enjoy someone's company because of, I wanted some momentary pleasure, basically. And so I think, if I eat something that, or not eat at all, but I, just kind of stay there and be there mentally. So if I'm mentally present, I can better enjoy the moment with, those family and friends that we loved. And I don't know, it's taken me, 40 years to kind of figure that out or internalize it in a way that it's actionable, So I don't fear like social events because I kind of think ahead in terms of, I need to be physically and mentally present to enjoy the moment with these people. They may offer me food and that's fine, but I don't have to partake of it,
You mentioned at the outset that diabetes was type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
Wasn't enough of a motivator necessarily. Has that improved?
Yeah. So I've completely reversed my type 2 diabetes. So when I got diagnosed, it was like an A1C of 6.8, and then I had a fasting glucose in the triple digits. Nowadays the blood sugar is like 5.4, 5.5, and then fasting glucose is like low 80s or something like that. So I've reversed my type 2 diabetes. I've got off my 2 high blood pressure medications.
Was that something that you talked to the doctor about, or you had to do because you were going to pass out?
No, like I said, I've been watching like Dr. Berry videos, Dr. Hampton videos, and they kind of teach you how to advocate for to get your doctor to de-prescribe stuff. So like with the high blood pressure medications, we kind of ramped off it instead of stopping them cold turkey just to make sure nothing was went awry. So I got off 2 high blood pressure medicines, and then I also did a follow-up sleep study and found out that I no longer have obstructive sleep apnea either. So it's just, those are pretty cool milestones. And my doctor is pretty, he's not necessarily pro low carb, but he is like pro results, So, it's all documented in the medical, chart and everything. But, he's like, when we look at lab numbers, he's just like, I just don't see drugs that do this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My HDL was maybe like 29 or 30 starting out with, and now it's like more than doubled, 62, 63, something like that.
Right.
Triglycerides dropped. I mean, it was like 150, but now it's, consistently in the 60s, 70s. So, HDL to triglyceride ratio of around 1 most times. And then I even did like a NMR lipo profile thing just to see like what the quality of the LDL was, and it's a solidly in the pattern A variety. So I don't know. I like doing the labs and all that stuff. I don't know. When I go to the doctor's office, it's kind of like going to the dentist's office, knowing that you have like really clean teeth and he's not going to find anything. That's the sensation I get when I do my quarterly visits with my doctor. So
That's sensational.
Mhm.
And did you have issues with digestion and stuff that have improved?
I've never had any issues with digestion. I was concerned that, from what I heard about other carnivores, like people doing, like they might have a bowel movement every 2, 3, 4 days or
Mhm.
something like that. But I've had at least one bowel movement every day for as long as I can remember. But what I will notice, and you can't talk carnivore without talking, bowels and stuff like that,
Yep.
is that the lack of fiber. It's kind of interesting because it on that Bristol stool chart it says like a 5. It just says no fiber, and I was like, okay, that's exactly what it looks like. But it also says passes easily, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's true too. I don't spend a whole lot of time in the bathroom. It passes easily. It's like a one wipe job, and I'm done. Um,
That sounds like a win.
yeah, and I don't know. This might be kind of graphic, but I eat roughly 2 pounds of meat a day, right? And so I'm thinking, like, how much of that goes to waste? Very little.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, that is some magic right there. You know?
Well, that actually kind of leads me to a question about what are some of your biggest surprises that you've had since you've been on carnivore?
Yeah, so that's been one of the bigger surprises, just because when you expect on that Bristol stool chart, should look like a 3 or 4, like a big log essentially. And that is not what it looks like at all. It's just very tiny, very little. Like I said, it goes through easily and it wipes up pretty clean too. So,
Mhm.
so that's probably one of the bigger surprises. I mean, it makes sense. We're not adding waste we're not adding things our body doesn't need to our stool, So,
Mhm.
so that was probably one of the bigger surprises. The absence of food craving. So the longer I go without, partaking of a reward meal or anything like that, the better I do. I've had to realize that my reward is the energy levels, the consistent energy levels I have throughout the day. I'm not going through blood sugar spikes and dips. I'm able to move and work out pain free, even after HIIT classes or weightlifting and stuff like that. Um, in order to live a meaningful life, you have to like move around, be able to move around, interact with other people and stuff. And I'm able to do all that. And so I always kind of had this mindset. I think I borrowed it from like Dr. Chafee or something. It was just something random that he mentioned. He's like, I feel like Superman every day. Why would I want to feel any different by what I eat? And so that and he kind of looks like Superman too. So he kind of built some credibility there. So,
Yeah.
so I feel the same way. I'm like, man, I feel great today. Why would I want to feel any different for, like a momentary, dopamine hit, So
Yeah, you saying my reward is the energy is really something that is a valuable takeaway. It's amazing.
I mean, that's been your experience.
Yeah, but I've never framed it that way. So I love hearing that.
yeah, and I
So
think it's just trying to keep the right perspective on things, your reward. My reward for doing well in the carnivore diet should be that I go out for a really nice steak dinner or something. It's a reward for me because I don't have to make the steak, and it's
yeah,
going to be
yeah.
made, really well, hopefully. So, that to me, that's a treat. I have to think about how I reward myself differently
Mhm.
than
So it sounds
necessarily
like
food.
you're not intending to start adding back vegetables and breads and cheese at any time soon.
No. I mean, cheese is like a once in a while type of thing. Like if I'm going out and all I can eat are burger patties, then I'm going to want some melted cheese on that because I don't want dry burger patties.
Yeah.
You
grill.
don't?
I'm with you on that one, Charlie.
Or sometimes what I'll do if I don't want to do the cheese is I'll ask them to put the grease back on top of the burger before they, use it as like another topping or something.
Yeah.
Instead of throwing it away, just put it back on the burger. I'll want I want it. So
at the beginning, you were talking about maybe pulling some different levers with Carnivore. What was that about? What were you aiming to achieve with that?
Yeah, so I don't know. Every month I find myself experimenting with something. I see other carnivores and their N of 1 experiments that they share that, okay, they're doing sardines. So let me try the sardine stuff. So I did that. Let me try the stick of butter. Stick of butter did not work for me. So, but what I was trying to do is figure out, like within the carnivore community, we always talk about, well, it should be more protein versus fat or more fat than protein. And I hear good arguments for either side. So I'm like, I don't really know which side I fall on. It really depends on the individual. So how do I figure that out? So I started like tracking my macros and, I tracked up to 80% on a 3,000 calorie, limit, let's say. And that seemed to move the needle. I don't know, because I was doing probably, 75% fat beforehand at the same 3,000, but the scale wasn't really moving. I mean, it wasn't going up, but it wasn't going down. I was like, cool, I can maintain it at this thing if I need to. But what if I tweak the macros just a little bit? And that 5% difference seems to have, like I said, it was at 180-pound weight loss. Now I'm down 187 in the course of like 10 days or something like that. So.
Wow.
So that was like one of the levers is like, okay, let's track my macros, but let's kind of tweak those percentages slightly week to week and see what happens, and start weighing myself on the scale and all that stuff every day just to kind of treat it like a true N of 1 science experiment. That's kind of the angle I was going after is, at this point, does my body like more fat? It clearly seems that it does, but it may change in a year. So that's maybe something I have to recalibrate later on. Is in a year from now I'll be at a different health status than I am right now. So that fat to protein may need to be tweaked a little bit or experimented with. Then the other lever is dry fasting. Or intermittent dry fasting, if that makes sense, because I haven't gone more than like 20 hours. I find that I mindlessly drink water just because it's there. I put the electrolyte powder in there, the unflavored variety, and I just kind of drink water, not because I'm thirsty, but it's just there. I feel like I need to do something, and it's there. So I read up on dry fasting. There were some good things there, like Dr. Lisa Wiedemann talked about dry fasting a little bit, and I've seen it from other channels. And so, in addition to tracking my food, I track my water intake just to kind of see, like, okay, if I'm not exercising this day and I only drink this much of electrolyte water, how does that contribute to my weight loss? So I don't know. I'm kind of playing with two different levers, so I don't know which is contributing more. So my thought is, well, I kind of like the results, so let's keep doing both.
Well, from the dry fasting standpoint, as long as it's not suffering inordinately of thirst,
right?
I'm a very thirsty. I've always had my water with me, and I always have since I was young. And so the idea of dry fasting is terrifying to me. Yeah,
it's something I've been kind of experimenting with. I just say like I'm intermittent dry fasting. I'm not quite ready to try like more extended stuff yet, just because I don't. And it's not something I do every day necessarily, especially on days where I have a HIIT class. I'm not going into it dry fasted because I definitely need my electrolytes after the fact. But if I'm not doing anything more than walking on a treadmill or walking my dog or moving around the house, then I think it's probably fine. A friend of mine was just thinking like, well, dry fasting would be great to do in the colder months because you're not as tempted to go outside where you would dehydrate yourself further. So I thought, oh, that's a great idea. So
And now is the time.
yeah, now's the time to start experimenting with that.
You had mentioned more extended fasting earlier in the interview as well. What does that look like for you right now?
So like on a Saturday might be my last meal. I'll fast Sunday, Monday, and then eat Tuesday.
Okay.
But during that Monday, I will do some like 2 back-to-back exercise classes, extended fasted too, just to kind of challenge myself, just to see if I could do it, so.
Yeah.
Do you check ketones at all?
I do. So part of this protocol, I'm like measuring everything. So, and that includes, ketones in the morning. So, I am definitely in a state of nutritional ketosis every day. I'm doing the OMADs and everything else. So it ranges from 1.0 at the low end to as high as like 4.2.
Beautiful.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Pretty good numbers. And I'm always kind of just thinking like, how clear am I feeling? Because I don't know, when you get to like 3s and 4s, you definitely know you're in a decent state of ketosis. It's like you're more alert. You kind of feel like Neo from the Matrix. Things just seem to move a little. Everything seems to move a little slower, or you seem to move a little bit faster. So
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I'm wondering if you could paint a picture for us a little bit about contrast for us. What did the future look like for the 400-pound Charlie versus the current Charlie?
I think the 400-pound Charlie was just kind of thinking, well, I don't know, maybe weight loss surgery is the way to go. I've done Weight Watchers before, didn't do that very well. I did the keto, had tremendous success, but I wasn't able to sustain it. So I don't know. To be honest, I wasn't thinking too much about the future at that point, just because I could barely see what was ahead the next day. As I was trying to figure out how to get through life as energy efficient as possible. So and yeah, the future was not looking bright at that point. So when I restarted doing the keto without the cheats, and then eventually transferred over to Carnivore, or it became a lot brighter. And what I mean by that is, I'm like mid-career as an accountant, or a little over mid-career, but I'm thinking, not retirement, not only in terms of, financial stability, but also how do I want to age? I don't want to be one of those folks that, the day after they retire, they're like wasting away on the recliner, on a wheelchair, taking, collecting medications like the Pokemon cards, so, or, having to see so many doctors, so many specialists and stuff like that. And, now I think, okay, if I can get the finance part down, then I can be there, physically and mentally, not only be there for, my wife, and hopefully be able to do stuff in retirement, like travel, things that require physical activity and so forth, but, be a productive part of my daughter's life as she gets older, instead of, being a burden, someone that she has to take care of. I want to be more of like, I can take care of her, help her move in and out of apartments or houses, be a fun and active part of her life. And that's what I look forward to. So when I see, other folks sharing their, carnivore health journeys and stories, I notice that they age really well, not just, in terms of, skin health and all that stuff, but just, there's a lot of like older folks that don't act their age, so they seem to defy the gravity or the acceptance of, everyone just sort of believes that as you get older, things should fall apart
Yeah.
slowly but surely, like it's an inevitable progressive decline. But when I see a lot of these stories, I just think, it doesn't have to be that way. Aging is inevitable, but chronic deterioration is optional.
Yes. Yes.
What
So
perfect way to wrap this up, I think.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us, and we look forward to visiting with you again and seeing your continued progress.
And I just want to do a pause though too, and thank you also on behalf of your daughter.
Yes.
Because I am a daughter who lost her father when he was age 43 due to metabolic issues. And so what you've done for her is life-changing for her as well. So she won't know the impact of this, but I do want to thank you on behalf of her as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, every once in a while she'll ask me why you eat the way you do, and I tell her, well, because I want to be strong and healthy, and I don't want you to have to take care of me when I get older and stuff like that. But I think she doesn't understand carnivore, keto, or anything like that, but she understands that how I eat has something to do with how I feel and I'm able to do stuff. And so she's a big reason why. I mean, she's part of that vision I have in my head that I'm marching towards, day in and day out. And then, So my daughter, it's like she gained a new father,
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And I'm only 41. So I don't want to be that, that statistic. So
no,